Imagine the life you've painstakingly built, a castle of success and security. Now imagine a single phone call in the middle of the night from thousands of miles away that not only shakes the foundations of that castle, but brings it down brick by brick. This was exactly what happened to Dr. Ethan Hayes, stuck in the terminal at London's Heathrow Airport, waiting for his flight back to Denver. His cell phone vibrated insistently in his pocket. It was 3 in the morning, an hour when news is rarely good. For a moment, he thought about ignoring it, but an inexplicable force compelled him to answer. On the other end of the line, a familiar but trembling voice tore his world apart. "Dr. Hayes, it's Mrs. Gable, your neighbor." Her voice was laden with an urgency that made Ethan's heart stop. "For God's sake, you need to come home immediately. Leo, he collapsed on my doorstep. He was begging for food." The ambulance had already been there, she explained, but now he was awake, crying, calling out only one name, his. "Doctor," her voice broke, "this boy, he's just skin and bone. He looks like he hasn't eaten in days." Ethan's world began to spin in slow motion. The rushing passengers, the airport lights, everything blurred into a silent haze. How could this be? Collapsed. Where was Vera, the nanny? Why would his son, his little Leo, be out on the street? "What are you saying?" His voice came out louder than he intended, a cry of panic that made a few heads turn in his direction. Mrs. Gable, always so composed, so calm, sounded on the verge of tears. "Doctor, I have to be honest. For 3 days now, I've seen Leo on the street begging for food. The first day, I thought it was some rich kid's game, you know? The second, I thought it was strange, but maybe it was a lesson you two were teaching him. But today, oh my God, today he just collapsed on my sidewalk. His little legs just gave out." Ethan's heart hammered so loudly he could hear it in his own ears, a drumbeat of pure terror. Mrs. And then, between sobs, she painted a picture that would haunt his nightmares forever. "Doctor, I couldn't believe my eyes. Leo, he looked like a street urchin, not the son of a millionaire doctor. His clothes were dirty and torn, his hair hadn't been cut in weeks, and his eyes, my God, his little eyes were so sunken with no light in them at all. He looks like he hasn't slept in days." Ethan didn't wait another moment. He ran, pushing past people, shoving his way to the airline counter like a man on fire. "I need the first flight to the United States. It's a medical emergency. My 6-year-old son is gravely ill." The employee, a woman with a weary expression who had seen it all, eyed him with skepticism. "Sir, all flights are full. The next available one isn't until tomorrow afternoon." "You don't understand!" He slammed his hands on the counter, the sound echoing his frustration. "This is an emergency. My son could be dying." The woman recoiled, startled by the intensity in his eyes. Ethan took a deep breath, trying desperately to regain control. "Please," he said, his voice now a broken plea. "I'll pay anything. First class, business, whatever it takes. I'm a doctor. My son needs me." While the employee typed furiously at her computer, Ethan's mind raced to one person. "Vera," he called. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. On the third try, a sleepy, irritated voice answered. "Dr. Hayes, good of you to call. Leo has been impossible today. Ran away from home again. I'm out looking for him now." The lie was so blatant it took Ethan's breath away. "Vera, my son collapsed from starvation on our neighbor's doorstep. How is that possible?" His hands were shaking, the phone slippery with sweat. "I leave enough money to feed an army. How is Leo malnourished?" There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of the line. In the background, Ethan could hear a television, loud music. It sounded like a party. "Doctor, don't exaggerate," Vera's voice returned, now sickly sweet and false. "Leo is dramatic, you know that. He didn't faint from hunger. It must have been the heat or something he ate. Children invent things for attention. Can you feel the anger bubbling, the disbelief? Vera, are you listening to me? My 6-year-old son was on the street begging for food. This is not normal. People around him stared, but he didn't care. Where were you when it happened? Dr. Hayes, she interrupted, her tone condescending, almost maternal, making Ethan's stomach churn. You're far away. You don't know what it's like day to day. Leo is fine. It's all for show. He does it to get candy from the neighbors. He's a clever one, you know. There's no need to panic like this. Ethan almost dropped the phone. Drama. Vera was calling his son's suffering drama. A 6-year-old child doesn't have the maturity to fake collapsing from hunger, Vera. Are you implying my son is a manipulator? The connection started to crackle. Vera! Vera! The line went dead. He tried calling back, desperately. Busy. Again. Voicemail. It was as if she had hung up on him deliberately. An anguish he hadn't felt since Amelia's last days in the hospital washed over him. The airline employee finally found something. Sir, I've got you a seat on the red eye, but it has 2 layovers. You won't get to Denver until tomorrow night. He didn't hesitate for a second. I'll take it. Those hours of travel were a true psychological hell. Eating, impossible. Sleeping, a joke. His mind was a carousel of terrible images of his son, weak and alone. During the layovers in Amsterdam, then in New York, he tried to call Vera dozens, perhaps hundreds of times, sometimes busy, sometimes voicemail. A few times she answered and hung up immediately. The last time he managed to get through, during the layover in New York, Vera's voice was slurred, drunk. Dr. Hayes, stop bothering me. Everything is under control here. Leo has already eaten and is sleeping. But the loud music in the background, the laughter, the voices, told another story. Vera, are you at a party? Who did you leave my son with? Doctor, relax, she said, her voice full of a criminal carelessness. Leo is independent. He knows how to take care of himself. And then the call dropped again. And this time, she didn't answer anymore. During the flight, his last conversations with Amelia, his late wife, assaulted him with a painful clarity. She was in the hospital, so weak, but her only concern was their son. Ethan, she had whispered, holding his hand. I'm dying, but this can't destroy our boy. He's going to need a lot of love, a lot of patience. Please, don't let work consume you. Leo will need his father more than ever. And he had promised. He had sworn, holding her cold hand, that Leo would always be his absolute priority. I'll take care of him as you would have. I promise he will never feel abandoned. But after the funeral, the pain was an abyss. And Ethan threw himself into work like an addict seeking a drug to numb his soul. Trips, conferences, extra shifts, anything to avoid being in that huge, empty house where every corner screamed Amelia's name. The mansion was a mausoleum of memories. And Leo, traumatized by the loss of his mother, was left in Vera's hands. Ethan remembered the interview. He had seen several candidates. Vera had stood out. Impeccable resume, wonderful references from former employers who praised her on the phone. She charged a high salary, $4,000 a month, but promised total dedication. Dr. Hayes, she had said with a sincerity that now seemed obscene, I know exactly how to deal with traumatized children. I lost my mother when I was 8. I understand the pain Leo is feeling. I will treat him as if he were my own son. And he trusted her. How could he have been so blind? Vera had seemed so professional, using psychological terms, speaking about processing childhood grief. He thought he had found the perfect person. What an idiot he had been. The taxi raced through the rainy streets of Denver in the pre-dawn hours. Ethan offered the driver $200 to speed. It's an emergency. My son is very sick, he explained. The driver, a middle-aged man with a family photo on his dashboard, understood immediately. Relax, Doc. My son is my everything too. We'll get there in no time. It was 4 in the morning when the car stopped in front of his mansion. The house was completely dark, silent as a tomb. He paid the fare and ran to the door, his hands shaking so much that he dropped his keys twice before managing to get it open. Inside, a strange smell hung in the air. A mixture of spoiled food, cigarette smoke, and something sour he couldn't identify. The living room was a mess. Dirty glasses, an overflowing ashtray, and empty wine bottles scattered across the floor. He took the stairs 2 at a time, Leo's name on his lips. The boy's room was empty. The bed, with the Avengers sheets Leo loved so much, looked like it hadn't been changed in weeks. It was yellowed, stained, and had a nauseating smell. He ran to Vera's room. The door was ajar, and there she was, sleeping soundly, still in last night's clothes. An expensive dress he didn't remember seeing before. High heels tossed on the floor. A designer handbag lay open with cash spilling out. "Vera!" He shook her hard. "Where is my son?" She woke with a start, her eyes bloodshot, her hair a mess, the strong smell of alcohol radiating from her. "Dr. Hayes, you're back early. What time is it?" She seemed genuinely confused. "It's 4 in the morning. Where is Leo?" He was losing control. "Leo." She rubbed her eyes, feigning thought. "Oh, right, Leo. He must be sleeping in his room, or maybe in the living room watching cartoons. You know how kids are, right? His room is empty, Vera, and you were here drinking, while my son was God knows where." He felt an overwhelming urge to strangle her. "Oh," she stretched, unhurried, as if it were nothing. "Leo sometimes sleeps in the laundry room when he has nightmares. It's a strange habit he developed after Mrs. Amelia died. I let him, you know. Poor thing. At least he stops crying." Ethan's heart stopped. He ran to the laundry room at the back of the house. He opened the door, and what he saw nearly made him collapse. There was his boy, his 6-year-old baby, curled up on a thin, filthy mattress on the cold floor. Leo was awake, his large, frightened eyes shining in the dim light, wearing only a thin t-shirt and soiled underwear. Leo. Ethan knelt beside his son, the tears finally running freely down his face. What he saw shattered him. It shattered him into a million pieces he would never be able to put back together. That wasn't his son. The chubby, laughing boy he had left a week ago was a skeletal ghost. His cheeks, once plump and rosy like Amelia's, were now deep hollows in his tiny face. His arms were so thin that Ethan could see every bone, every vein standing out beneath his pale skin. His little legs looked like twigs that could snap at the slightest touch. And his eyes, once bright and mischievous, were now 2 dark pools of fear in a skeletal face. "Daddy!" Leo's voice was a faint whisper, almost inaudible. "Are you really back, or am I dreaming again?" "I dream a lot that you come back, but then I wake up and you're not here." Ethan gathered him into his arms, and a sob escaped his throat when he felt how light he was. It was like holding a wounded bird. Leo weighed no more than a 3-year-old. "It's really Daddy, my love. Daddy is here, and I'm never leaving again." Leo began to cry, a silent, weak cry without tears, as if his small body no longer had the energy even for that. "Daddy, I tried to be strong, like you said before you left. I tried really, really hard, but I'm so hungry my tummy hurts. And Vera said you went away forever, just like Mommy did. That I had to learn to fend for myself, because nobody can stand a crybaby." Every word was a knife twisting in Ethan's heart. "Leo, Daddy will never, ever abandon you. Never." He kissed his son's cold forehead. "Who told you that horrible lie?" "Vera." Leo sobbed against his shoulder. "She said I'm a burden, that you've been tired of me since Mommy died. She said if I didn't stop crying for Mommy and peeing in the bed, you would give me to an orphanage, because nobody can stand a problem child." Ethan trembled with a pure, murderous rage. How dare that woman? How dare she say such cruel things to a grieving child? Leo, look in Daddy's eyes. He held his son's thin face between his hands. You are the most important thing in Daddy's life. I love you more than anything in the world, more than any job, more than anything, and I will never, ever abandon you. Do you understand? Leo nodded weakly. But Daddy, what if I keep peeing the bed? Vera said it's disgusting. That's why I deserve to sleep here on the floor like a dog. Ethan felt the urge to commit a crime. Leo, wetting the bed is normal when we lose someone we love very much. It's not a problem at all. Daddy will take care of you. I'll change as many sheets as needed, and you are going to sleep in your own cozy, warm bed with your teddy bears. And just then, like a demon emerging from the shadows, Vera appeared at the laundry room door, looking irritated at having been woken up. Dr. Hayes, what a dramatic scene. Leo, stop crying and go take a shower. You stink of pee. Ethan rose slowly, still holding Leo, and looked at Vera with a hatred so cold that she took a step back. Vera, why is my son sleeping in the laundry room like an animal? His voice was low, controlled, but laced with a deadly threat. Because he wets the bed every night, and I'm not going to be washing sheets every single day, she answered with a defiance that was beyond reason. It's more practical for him to sleep here until he learns to control himself. Besides, he likes it here. It's his little corner. Ethan couldn't believe the woman's callousness. He's 6 years old, Vera. He lost his mother a year ago. It's normal for him to have regressions. Anyone with a shred of humanity would understand that. Humanity? Vera laughed, a harsh, cruel sound. Doctor, in my day, kids didn't have these issues. Dead is dead. Life goes on. Crying and wetting the bed won't bring anyone back. A child needs a firm hand, not coddling. The urge to silence that mouth forever was almost unbearable, but Leo was in his arms, trembling with fear. Get out of my way, he snarled. I'm going to give my son a bath, and I'm going to feed him. In the kitchen, the scene was even more desolate. Ethan opened the refrigerator, expecting to find the usual abundance, but what he saw shocked him to his core. Only 2 shriveled apples, an expired yogurt container, and leftover pizza that looked days old. The refrigerator, which he always kept stocked with nutritious food for Leo, was practically empty. Vera, where is the food? I transferred $2,000 last week just for Leo's meals. He showed her the receipt on his phone, his voice shaking with rage. It's gone, she replied dryly, without a hint of shame. Leo doesn't eat properly anyway. He gets fussy, throws up. It's not worth spending so much money on expensive food that goes in the trash. He opened the cabinets. Stale, moldy crackers, a packet of instant noodles, 2 cans of expired sardines. Vera, what about the money I send for the house? Money? She feigned ignorance. What money, Doctor? I use it all for expenses. Electricity, water, gas, groceries. It all costs a lot. Daddy. Leo's thin voice cut through the tension. He tugged on Ethan's shirt with trembling fingers. Can I have a cracker? Just one, a little one. I promise I won't throw up this time. The desperation in his son's voice broke Ethan's heart into 1,000 pieces. Of course, son, you can have as many as you want. He opened the package. Leo took a cracker with both hands, as if it were the most precious treasure in the world, and bit into it slowly, chewing with a difficulty that was painful to watch. Vera rolled her eyes. See, Doctor? Leo makes a drama out of everything. He acts like he's starving to death when there's food available. It's pure manipulation. But Ethan saw it. He saw the difficulty, the gagging, the struggle to swallow. He can't eat properly, Vera. He needs medical help, proper food, not criticism. Medical? She laughed. Dr. Hayes, you're a doctor. You should know there's nothing wrong with Leo. He's stubborn, dramatic, that's all. When he gets truly hungry, he'll eat anything. Ethan picked him up again. We're going to the hospital. Now, I want a pediatrician to examine my son from head to toe. For the first time, a shadow of concern crossed Vera's face. The hospital? Doctor, there's no need for that. Leo is fine, just a little thin. Kids go through phases. Phases, Ethan exploded, the sound making Leo flinch in his arms. My son is malnourished, traumatized, sleeping on the laundry room floor, and you call this a phase? Vera staggered back, still under the influence of alcohol. Dr. Hayes, you have no idea how hard it is to take care of Leo. He doesn't cooperate, he doesn't obey, he just wants to cry for his dead mother all the time. It's exhausting. Stop talking about my wife like that, Ethan roared, losing control completely. He took a deep breath, trying to calm himself for the sake of his son, who was trembling in his arms. Daddy's not mad at you, Leo. Daddy is mad at Vera because she didn't take good care of you. The boy nodded, still shaking. And then he whispered something in Ethan's ear that made the world collapse once more. Daddy, Vera gave me medicine to make me stop crying. She said it was a vitamin, that it would make me strong like Spider-Man. But afterward, I'd get really dizzy and sleep all day. What kind of medicine, Leo? Ethan could barely form the question. The boy thought, frowning. They were the little drops Mommy used to take when she was nervous, before she went to sleep. Vera said they were mine now, that kids who cry too much need medicine to stay calm. Anxiolytics, a controlled substance, a black box drug. For a 6-year-old child, an overdose could have killed him. Leo, when did you take this medicine? Every day, Daddy. In the morning, when I woke up crying for Mommy. At night before bed, and sometimes at lunch too, when I cried a lot or peed my pants. He spoke as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Ethan turned to Vera, a murderous hatred in his eyes. You drugged my son with anti-anxiety medication. Do you have any idea you could have killed him? Vera just shrugged. It was just a few drops to calm him down. I didn't do anything wrong. With shaking hands, Ethan started the car. Leo, we're going to the hospital now. The doctor will take care of you. He'll make you all better. The boy held his father's hand tightly. Daddy, you're not going to travel anymore? I get so scared when you go away. I'm all alone with Vera, and she gets really mad at me. No, son, Ethan said, looking in the rearview mirror at the skeletal figure of his son in the back seat. Daddy is not going away without you anymore. Never again. And he made a silent promise to himself. Whoever did this to Leo would pay dearly. At the hospital, the pediatrician, Dr. Marcus Thorne, examined Leo with an expression that grew graver by the minute. Ethan watched in silence, a doctor watching helplessly as another professional assessed the extent of the damage to his own child. Leo was terrified, clinging to his father's arm as if he feared being left alone again. The number on the digital scale was a punch to Ethan's gut, 33 pounds. At 6 years old, Leo weighed what a 3-year-old should weigh. The average for his age was nearly 50 pounds. Ethan saw the doctor jot down in the chart with a grim expression, severe malnutrition. Daddy, why does everyone get sad when they weigh me? Leo asked, with an innocence that broke Ethan's heart. He swallowed back a sob and stroked his son's thinning hair. They just want to help you get strong again, my love. Dr. Thorne continued the exam. Slow reflexes, signs of chronic dehydration, pale gums. After 40 torturous minutes, the doctor turned to Ethan. Dr. Hayes, I need to be blunt. Leo is suffering from severe malnutrition, moderate dehydration, and clear signs of improper medication. His weight is almost 40% below the ideal. This doesn't happen in a week. He lowered his voice, looking directly into Ethan's eyes. When was the last time you actually watched your son eat a full meal? Ethan's face burned with shame. He tried to remember, but the memories were a blur. For the past few months, whenever he was home, Leo seemed to be asleep. Vera always said he had already eaten, that he was fine. I was away for 5 days, but I hadn't noticed he was losing so much weight. The pediatrician frowned. Dr. Hayes, this level of malnutrition is progressive. From the state of his nails, hair and skin, I would say Leo hasn't been properly fed for at least 2 months, possibly longer. 2 months. Ethan felt the floor drop out from under him. 2 months. But Amelia had died a whole year ago. How had he been so blind? How had he not noticed his son was wasting away right under his own roof? Dr. Thorne continued, showing him the results of an urgent blood test. I also found significant traces of benzodiazepines in Leo's blood. The amount suggests regular and prolonged use. Someone has been giving him controlled medication for weeks, maybe months. This is extremely dangerous for a child. It can cause dependency, cognitive problems, even a coma. Ethan clenched his fists so tightly his nails dug into his palms. The nanny, she admitted to giving him drops to calm him down. She was using leftover medication from my late wife. Ethan's voice came out choked. Anti-anxiety meds, black box warning. Dr. Thorne shook his head in disgust. Dr. Hayes, this is criminal. These drugs could have caused permanent neurological damage. I'm going to order a full battery of tests. MRI, EEG. He paused, looking with pity at Leo, who was now distractedly playing with a small teddy bear. And I will be obligated to contact Child Protective Services. It's protocol in cases of neglect. Ethan's world crumbled. Neglect? Doctor, I didn't know. I trusted her completely. She had references, experience. I understand, Dr. Hayes, but legally, you are the one responsible. The child is in a state of severe nutritional and medicinal neglect. The doctor made more notes. I'm admitting Leo for a week for hydration, nutritional monitoring, and detoxification. And Dr. Hayes, you need help too. Leo has told me some very disturbing things about the environment at home. Ethan looked at his son, so small in that hospital bed. His arms so thin, the veins like blue rivers under his translucent skin. What did he tell you? Dr. Thorne hesitated. He said he slept on the floor, that his caregiver screamed at him when he cried for his mother, that he spent entire days locked in his room. Dr. Hayes, that constitutes psychological abuse on top of the physical neglect. While Leo slept, sedated and connected to an IV, Ethan stepped into the hallway and called his lawyer, Rich Matthews. His hands were shaking so badly he nearly dropped his phone. Rich, I need you, urgently. I'm firing Leo's nanny, and I want to sue her for everything possible. His voice was thick with a rage he had never felt before. Ethan, slow down. What happened? Rich asked. Ethan recounted everything. The malnutrition, the medication, the cruelty, the neglect. With every detail, his anger grew like a wildfire. On the other end of the line, Rich whistled. Man, this is serious. Very serious. We're talking child abuse. Practicing medicine without a license. It could even be attempted murder. But Ethan, you're vulnerable here too. Child Protective Services might question why you didn't notice the situation. He knew Rich was right. He had failed, miserably. While running from his own pain, he had delivered his son, the only living piece of Amelia, into the hands of a monster. Rich, I don't care what happens to me. I need to find out everything about this Vera. I'm sure she's hiding a lot more. Leave it to me, Rich said. I'll put a private investigator on her. He paused. Ethan, do you have her details? The horror hit him again. He didn't even know her full last name. She introduced herself as Vera Santos. I never asked for documents, never ran a background check. The guilt was like acid. Ethan, stop blaming yourself right now, Rich said, ever practical. You were grieving, vulnerable. Focus on what matters, protecting Leo and getting justice. Send me any information you have. Back in the room, Ethan found Leo awake, looking fearfully at the monitors. "Daddy, am I going to die like Mommy? Is that why I have these machines stuck to me?" The innocent question tore him apart. He remembered Amelia's last days, connected to similar machines. "No, my love, you're not going to die. These machines are to help you get strong." "Daddy," Leo whispered, looking around, "can I tell you a secret about what Vera used to do?" Ethan braced himself for the worst. "She took pictures of the whole house with her phone. The paintings, your wines, Mummy's jewelry in the little box. I asked her why, and she said it was to show her friends how pretty our house was. But she told me that if I told you, you'd get really mad at me." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. "Leo, do you remember anything else strange?" the boy thought. "She talked on the phone a lot in a different language, and sometimes strange men would come to the house when you weren't here. Big men. She would send me to my room and tell me not to make a sound." He paused. "One time I peed my pants because I was so scared, because they were yelling really loudly in the living room." The truth began to take a sinister shape. Vera wasn't just negligent. There was something much more organized going on. "Leo, these men, did they take anything from the house when they left?" Leo nodded vigorously. "Yes. One time I peeked through the crack in the door. They put the big painting from the living room, the one with colorful flowers that Mommy liked, in a wooden box and took it away. The painting, an original work of art valued at over $80,000. An anniversary gift for Amelia, one of the few things he couldn't look at without crying. The rage returned, overwhelming. He picked up the phone and called the house. Vera answered on the second ring, her voice impatient. "Dr. Hayes, how is Leo? I hope the doctors confirmed it was nothing serious." Her coldness was unbelievable. "Vera, Leo is hospitalized with severe malnutrition and drug poisoning. I want you out of my house, today." "What do you mean, leave?" She feigned surprise. "Doctor, I took care of Leo to the best of my ability. If you're not satisfied, we can discuss changes, a salary increase." "Vera," he cut her off, "you drugged my son. You starved him. You made him sleep on the floor like an animal. This isn't poor performance. This is a crime." There was a long silence. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Cold, calculating, threatening. "Dr. Hayes, be careful with the accusations you're making. Who's going to believe the word of a traumatized child over mine?" "Everyone will believe it when they see his medical reports," Ethan replied, his voice firm. "You have 2 hours to get out of my house. Leave the keys with the doorman of the building next door." Vera laughed, a chilling sound. "Doctor, you will bitterly regret treating me this way. I know a lot of things about this family, a lot of things that might interest certain people." The veiled threat made Ethan's blood boil. "Are you threatening me, Vera?" But the call had already dropped. He had just poked a venomous snake, and it was about to strike. 3 hours later, Ethan arrived home, but this time he wasn't alone. Rich, his lawyer, and 2 professional security guards accompanied him. The house was silent, eerily empty. The keys were at the front desk as arranged, but when they entered, the shock was immediate. The house had been ransacked. Amelia's painting, the valuable work of art, was no longer on the wall, leaving only a darker rectangular mark like a scar. The private wine cellar was half empty. The most expensive and rare wines were gone. Ethan ran upstairs to the bedroom he had shared with Amelia. The safe was open and empty. Her jewelry, including the $200,000 diamond engagement ring, her grandmother's pearl earrings, the emerald necklace he had given her, all of it was gone. "My God," he whispered. "She stole everything. Everything that was left of Amelia." The tears came, a devastating mixture of anger and grief. Rich was already photographing everything. "Ethan, this is a police matter now. She's not a bad caregiver. She's a professional criminal." In his office, expensive medical equipment had also vanished. A $20,000 portable defibrillator, cardiac monitors, controlled medications. Rich, how was I so blind? How did I not realize I was being robbed in my own home? He sat down, devastated. What kind of father am I? Ethan, Rich put a hand on his shoulder. You were grieving, vulnerable. People like this Vera specialize in exploiting exactly these moments. Just then, the private investigator, Mr. Davies, called. Dr. Hayes, I found some very interesting and disturbing things. First, her real name is Vera Cristina Oliveira. She has multiple police records for fraud, grand larceny, and practicing medicine without a license in at least 4 states. Ethan's stomach churned. Anything else? Yes, doctor. She maintains an extremely active social media profile as an influencer of alternative medicine. She passes herself off as a therapist, uses fake titles, and charges up to $2,000 for an online consultation. She has over 50,000 followers. 50,000 followers believing that fraud. Mr. Davies, send me everything you've found. I'm sending it now, doctor. But there's something that's going to shock you deeply. The investigator's voice grew graver. She regularly posts photos of your house as if it were hers, and there's something much worse. She sells miracle cures, specifically to families of children with cancer. The phone nearly fell from Ethan's hand. The same disease that killed Amelia, that destroyed his family, was being used by Vera to deceive other desperate families. When Ethan opened the email, the scale of Vera's criminal enterprise made him nauseous. Her Instagram profile, under the name Dr. Vera Santana, was a masterpiece of deception. Luxurious photos, many taken in his own home. Vera posed in his living room, his kitchen, his garden, with deceitful captions. "My home, my temple of healing," one read. But what disgusted him to his core were the posts about cancer. She sold a revolutionary natural healing protocol for childhood cancer for $5,000. She promised a complete cure in 60 days without chemotherapy. In the comments, dozens of desperate families begged for help, offering their life savings for the hope of saving their children. This psychopath is preying on families just like ours was, he muttered to Rich, remembering the terrible months of Amelia's treatment. Rich, this can't stand. She is literally killing people with these lies. Ethan, this is criminal charlatanism, Rich said, outraged. We can sue her for a dozen crimes. Then Ethan saw something that made him tremble with rage. A photo of Amelia, a photo he didn't recognize, likely taken in secret. In the caption, Vera wrote with repugnant cynicism, "One of my patients who managed to beat cancer with my natural protocol. Unfortunately, she gave up on my treatment in the final stage and opted for aggressive traditional medicine, which ultimately proved fatal. If she had stayed with me, she would certainly be alive today." It was the height of cruelty. Using the image of his dead wife to sell lies, blaming the very medicine that had tried to save her. Rich, I'm going to destroy this woman. Ethan's voice was made of steel. Easy, Ethan. We're going to do this the right way, with solid proof, said Rich, who had already found her professional website. Energy healing consultations for $2,000, fake testimonials promising to cure cancer, HIV, autism. Vera wasn't an opportunistic thief. She was a sophisticated predator who hunted families in their most vulnerable moments. The investigator called again. Doctor, I have her address. A luxury apartment rented in Cherry Creek, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Denver. She moves cities every 2 or 3 years. Before Denver, she was in Seattle, doing the same thing. Before that, Miami. The same pattern. Infiltrate wealthy, vulnerable families, usually widowers with young children, gain their trust, steal everything, traumatize the children, and disappear. I've found at least 5 families who were her victims over the last 8 years, said Mr. Davies. Vera was a serial predator, and she had picked the wrong family to attack. "Rich, I want to sue her for absolutely everything," Ethan said. "Theft, child abuse, practicing medicine without a license, misuse of image, fraud, racketeering. I want her to pay for every single one of my son's tears. And I think we should contact the other victim families," Rich added. "A class action lawsuit, and she won't get away." Ethan looked out the window at the garden where Amelia and Leo used to play. Vera hadn't just violated his home. She had desecrated his most sacred memories. "Rich, I want more than justice. I want her to be publicly exposed. I want everyone to know exactly what kind of monster this woman is." He had a plan. She had 50,000 followers. If they could expose the truth, they could save hundreds of lives. "We are going to destroy this criminal enterprise completely," Rich said, fully committed. Back at the hospital, Ethan found Leo awake. "Daddy, when am I going home for real?" "Soon, my love. But first, Daddy needs to sort some things out with Vera. She won't be bothering us anymore." "Is she gone forever?" Leo asked, a glimmer of hope in his sunken eyes. "Yes, son. She's gone and she's never coming back." And for the first time in a long time, Leo smiled, a weak but real smile. "Daddy, can I tell you a secret?" he whispered. "I never liked Vera. She was nice when you were around, but when we were alone, she turned into someone else. She was very, very mean to me." Ethan stroked his hair. "Daddy found out that Vera was not a good person, son. And now she's going to pay dearly for everything she did." That night, Ethan didn't sleep. He researched, catalogued every lie, every fake product, every family she had destroyed. He found devastating comments. A mother from Miami wrote, "My 12-year-old daughter died of leukemia because I believed Vera could cure her. I spent $22,000 on fake treatments while my baby was dying. This woman is a demon." Tears of rage burned Ethan's eyes. How many families, how many children, how many deaths? The decision was made. Vera would not just be sued. She would be publicly annihilated. He would use all his influence to expose the truth about that psychopath. And he knew exactly how to do it in a way that was devastating and final. But you have no idea what Ethan was about to discover about Vera's even more diabolical plans, and how he would prepare a trap that would shock the entire country. Tell me, are you as outraged by this Vera as I am? Over the next 3 days, Ethan transformed into a man possessed by a thirst for justice. While Leo recovered, he delved deeper into Vera's sordid world, and what he found was worse than any nightmare. On the second day, his phone rang. It was her. "Dr. Hayes." Vera's voice was different, cold and calculating. "I hope you are reflecting on the hasty accusations you made against me." Ethan's blood boiled. "Vera, you have the audacity to call me after what you did to my son." "Your son is fine now, isn't he? I saved him from a deep depression. Without me, he would have cried himself to death over his mother." The casual cruelty in her voice was breathtaking. "But Dr. Hayes, I need you to know I have some very interesting photos. Photos of you with some of your patients in compromising situations. It would be a shame if they reached the medical board, don't you think?" He could hardly believe it. "Are you blackmailing me?" "I'm trying to protect your reputation, doctor. Drop the charges, or these photos might accidentally leak." The call ended. What photos? He had never done anything inappropriate. And then he understood. She was bluffing, trying to intimidate him. She was even more of a psychopath than he had imagined. Shortly after, Mr. Davies, the investigator, arrived with a revelation that turned Ethan's stomach. "Dr. Hayes, I've discovered something shocking. Vera doesn't just steal and abuse children, she documents everything." "What do you mean, documents?" "She secretly filmed Leo. She has videos of him crying, begging for food, being forcibly medicated. She uses these videos as study material to teach other criminals. My son was her guinea pig." "Worse than that, doctor. She sells these videos in closed groups on the dark web to people who take pleasure in watching children suffer. Ethan had to steady himself to keep from fainting. Vera's evil knew no bounds. The investigator showed him screenshots of messages. Vera wrote to accomplices, "The doctor's boy is responding well to the submission protocol. Another 2 weeks and he'll be completely broken psychologically." Another message, "I've increased the dosage of the tranquilizers. He barely reacts anymore when I shout." It's interesting how rich kids break faster than poor ones. She had even developed a trauma efficiency scale. "Doctor," Mr. Davies continued, "she has a network of at least 20 people spread across the country. They all do the same thing. They infiltrate vulnerable families and destroy children for pleasure and profit." Ethan ran to the bathroom and threw up. When he returned, he was as pale as a ghost. This woman must be stopped at any cost. She isn't human. At the hospital, Leo was more cheerful. "Daddy, I had a nightmare about Vera again. She came back and said she was going to take me away." Ethan hugged him tightly. "It was just a nightmare, my love. She can't hurt you anymore." "Daddy," Leo whispered, "can I tell you something really ugly she used to do? She would film me when I cried. She said it was to show other doctors how mentally ill I was." Ethan's heart shattered. "Leo, you were never mentally ill. You're a normal child who lost his mommy. It's normal to cry." "But Daddy, she said you thought I was crazy too. That's why you always traveled." The guilt hit him like a hammer. "Leo, Daddy traveled because I was in pain. But that was very wrong. You are the most important thing in the world to me." Rich, the lawyer, arrived with troubling news. "Ethan, Vera is fighting back. She's hired an expensive lawyer and is spreading lies about you on social media." "What kind of lies?" "She's saying you abused her, that you mistreated Leo, that you're addicted to drugs. It already has over 1,000 shares." Her audacity was unbelievable. "Rich, that's slander." "It is. But she's smart. She's destroying your reputation before you can destroy hers. Some of your patients have already cancelled appointments. The hospital is getting calls." Vera was using Ethan's own weapon against him. "Rich, we have to accelerate our plan. She cannot win this war." That evening, the journalist Patricia Collins called. "Dr. Hayes, I saw the accusations against you. Does this change anything?" "On the contrary, Patricia, it proves she's even more dangerous." "Doctor, I've got something that will interest you greatly. A former employee of Vera's has agreed to talk. She worked for the scheme for 2 years and knows everything. Hope was reborn. Will she agree to a recorded statement? More than that. She'll appear on camera live, and she has proof, documents, audio recordings. Dr. Hayes, this woman will put an end to Vera." The investigator uncovered more horrors. Vera kept a database with information on hundreds of vulnerable families. Each attack was meticulously planned. Then, a call from a colleague in Austin, Dr. Fernando Almeida, left Ethan in a state of shock. "Ethan, I've discovered something terrible. Vera attacked 2 more families here." "What do you mean?" "She went back to Austin after leaving my house." "No, Ethan, she never left Austin. She was working in multiple cities simultaneously. She has lookalikes, women she trains to pull the same scams. It's a much larger organization than we imagined." Ethan had to sit down. "How many families were being attacked at that very moment?" "Fernando, the woman in my house, was it really Vera?" "It was, but while she was with you, other Veras were destroying other families." Rich came running in. "Ethan, we have a problem. Vera has disappeared. The apartment is empty." Panic. "She's going to flee the country." "Worse, we discovered she has false documents. She could be anywhere, under any identity." But Mr. Davies called with a discovery that changed everything. "Dr. Hayes, I've found Vera. She hasn't fled. She's hiding out in a house in the countryside in Golden, coordinating new attacks." Relief and rage. "Where exactly?" "At a farmhouse. She thinks she's safe, but my contacts in the police have eyes on her." He paused. "Doctor, there's more. She's planning to attack your family again. Ethan froze. What do you mean? She wants to kidnap Leo from the hospital. She has accomplices infiltrated on the medical staff. The plan is to drug him again and flee with him to another state. A homicidal fury took hold of Ethan. She will not lay a finger on my son. When? Tonight, doctor. During the nurse's shift change, Ethan called the hospital, demanded reinforced security, and called Rich. The plan has changed, Rich. We're not just going to expose her. We're going to catch her in the act, trying to kidnap my son. Ethan, that's dangerous. Rich, she declared war on my family. Now she's going to find out what a father is capable of when his son is threatened. The rest of the day was spent organizing the perfect trap. Police, press, prosecutors. Vera would be caught on live television. At the hospital, he explained the situation to Leo in language he could understand. My love, Vera is going to try one last bad thing, but Daddy will be here. And after this, she will never bother another child again. Daddy, I don't want to see her ever again, Leo said. You won't have to, my love. Daddy will handle everything. By 8 p.m., the cameras were in position. The police were ready. Ethan pretended to sleep in the room with Leo. At 9:15 p.m., Mr. Davies's radio crackled. Vera is entering the hospital with 2 accomplices. Ethan's heart pounded. Finally, justice would be served. Live for the entire country to see. Leo, he whispered to his sleeping son, stay very still now. The nightmare with Vera is ending, forever. At 9:30, the sound of muffled footsteps in the hall made Ethan's heart race. He recognized Vera's whispered voice. The room is 312. The boy should be drugged. You go in, give him more sedative, and we leave through the emergency stairs. A murderous rage rose in his throat. Drugging his son. She said it as if she were ordering a coffee. He discreetly pressed the emergency button. Red lights flashed silently through the corridors, a mute alarm for the security team. The door opened slowly. Vera entered, followed by 2 large men dressed as cleaning staff. She had changed her appearance, dark hair, glasses, a pathetic attempt at a disguise. She approached the bed where Ethan feigned sleep with Leo in his arms. Be careful not to wake the idiot doctor, she whispered with contempt. If he wakes up, you know what to do. The men nodded, revealing syringes. They were going to drug him too. Don't worry, Ethan said, opening his eyes and rising slowly, shielding Leo. I'm already awake, and I'm not alone. Vera turned pale but quickly composed herself, the consummate actress. Dr. Hayes, what a coincidence. I just came to visit Leo. Your special boy? Ethan snarled. Vera, you nearly killed my son, and now you've come to finish the job. She smiled, a coldness that chilled the blood. Doctor, you were always so dramatic. Leo was happy with me. I freed him from the trauma of his dead mother. The mention of Amelia made Ethan tremble with hatred. You're a monster. How dare you speak of my wife that way? Your wife was weak, she continued cruelly. She died because she had no willpower, and you're just as weak as she was. That's why it was so easy to walk into your life and take everything I wanted. At that moment, the lights flared on, and 10 armed police officers stormed the room. Police! Everyone on the ground! One of Vera's men tried to run but was tackled. The other lunged at Ethan with the syringe but was subdued. Vera remained strangely calm. Dr. Hayes, she said as she was handcuffed, you think you've beaten me? You poor, naive man. The TV cameras swept in next, filming everything live. Patricia Collins narrated, We are witnessing the live arrest of the criminal Vera Cristina, caught in the act of attempting to kidnap a 6-year-old child. Vera looked at the cameras and began to perform. People of this country don't believe this man's lies. I cared for his son with love. He's making this up to absolve himself of the guilt of neglecting his own child. Even under arrest, she continued to manipulate. Vera, enough lies, Ethan said, turning to the cameras, holding a sleeping Leo. The whole country will know who you really are. This woman medicated my son with controlled drugs for months. She starved him to the point of near death. She made him sleep on the floor like an animal. And she still has the nerve to call herself a savior? Vera was led away, but instead of hiding her face, she looked into the camera lenses with a disturbing smile. "I'll be back soon," she whispered to Ethan as she passed him. The comment froze his blood. What kind of monster was this woman? At the police station, Vera's case fell apart. The other victims arrived. Dr. Almeida came from Austin with his daughter, Laura. "That's her, Daddy," the little girl said upon seeing Vera. "That's Auntie V, who gave me sleeping medicine and said Mommy wasn't coming back because I was a bad girl." Vera lost her composure. "That child is a liar." But Laura continued, "She filmed me when I cried, and she stole Mommy's necklace." Other families arrived. Each testimony was more devastating than the last. The prosecutor announced the charges: racketeering, kidnapping, child abuse, grand larceny, practicing medicine without a license, fraud, and 14 other crimes. Remand in custody, no bail. Vera exploded. "This is a witch hunt. I have proof that Dr. Hayes abused his patients." The judge slammed his gavel. Preventive detention ordered. Vera's real humiliation was just beginning. Her 50,000 followers discovered the truth. Her profile was bombarded with over 200,000 hateful messages. In 24 hours, she went from influencer to the most hated criminal in the country. Ethan gave interviews to all the major news outlets. On a major daytime TV show, he showed the before and after pictures of Leo. The host cried on air. The public outcry was national. The case exposed a much larger problem. In prison, Vera had a breakdown. Other inmates shunned her. Even lawyers refused to defend her. 3 weeks later, the prison warden called. "Dr. Hayes, Vera attempted suicide. She left a letter asking for forgiveness, but it seems more like another manipulation." Ethan felt no pity, no satisfaction. She made her choices. The trial was a landmark event. The courtroom was packed. Ethan testified, holding the hand of Leo, who, now at a healthy weight, told the judge in a firm voice, "Auntie Vera said I was a bad boy because I cried for my mommy. But crying for someone you love isn't bad, is it?" The entire room was moved. When it was Vera's turn, she attacked. "These rich families hired me to do the dirty work they didn't want to. Now they've turned me into a scapegoat." The sentence was historic. "Vera Cristina, for the heinous crimes committed, I sentence you to 28 years in a maximum security prison." Vera fell apart. "No, I was helping those children." She was forcibly removed, screaming. An enormous weight lifted from Ethan's shoulders. Justice had been done, but the emotional price was steep. 6 months later, Ethan and Leo were planting white roses in the garden in memory of Amelia. "Daddy, do you think Mommy would have been proud?" Leo asked, the scars of his trauma still visible. "Leo, your mother would be proud of how brave you were. Because every time you plant a flower or you're kind to someone, you're showing that her goodness lives on inside of you." "Daddy," he whispered, "will I stop being scared one day?" "The fear gets smaller, my love, and Daddy will always be here to protect you." Ethan had started the Amelia Hayes Foundation, which had already exposed 23 similar criminal schemes. That night, he tucked Leo into bed. "Daddy, tell me a story about Mommy." "Your mother planted a rose bush the day you were born," he began.